Hi, my name is Jason King, and this is day 21 of 99 Days of Deeper Embodiment. It's funny, I say Jason King, and yes, that is my name. I also have other names. So there is a welcoming of recognizing that embodiment is a fluid process and a nonlinear process. And in embodiment, we embody the birth name that we were given by dissolving that timeline fully and completely, integrating it into the body, and then it is whole within us, integrated. And so, yes, I am that. And Jason King is not my birth name. It's a slight modification, um, where my birth name is my first name, and Jay is my middle name. So I add son onto it, and then King is my mother's last name, actually. Um, and so, at a certain point in my own embodiment, it just felt fun to do a little modification with the names because I was no longer really heavily identified with the life that I lived from birth until that point, because I had felt all of that fully. And now that's still with me, of course, doesn't leave. However, I'm not being moved by it in the same way. It doesn't move me. There's not a strong identification where I'm creating that future for myself, the future that was given me when I was born. So, what would a future look like that is given to us when we're born? What does that look like? It looks like what our ancestors lived. It looks like what our parents lived. And then it looks like whatever traumas we lived through when we were younger. That's what our future looks like before we start to embody. It looks like all the beliefs that we were given from the time that we were in the womb until the time that we are here now. That entire timeline is what is creating our future. And so let's dive a little bit more into what a belief is. What is a belief? How does a belief get formed? Where does it come from? So let's assume, as an example, that I am just pure awareness observing everything that is here. And I have no ideas about it because I am innocence, I am pure awareness, and this is how we're all born. And then all of a sudden, the forms start talking to me. So I'm looking and I'm watching and I'm seeing all of this movement around me. I don't know anything about it as a baby, nothing at all. I don't have any ideas, nothing at all. But the ideas are around me and my family, my mom, my dad, my relatives, my grandparents. They're all telling me what things are. This is an apple. That is your mom. And so, slowly during this formative period where I am just receiving information, whatever it is, there's no filters, there's no ideas about it, there's no beliefs about it, I don't know anything about it at all. Slowly, I receive the program that comes from my ancestors. And when I receive that, I receive all of their beliefs and all of their unprocessed traumas. And that gets put into my consciousness. And that forms what I see. That's my perceptual reality. That is what I believe is true. Mhm. And so then my future is already predetermined. I have a future, I have a destiny that was given to me by my ancestors that continues that same story. So the story now continues with me. They passed it on to me. And so if my parents were plumbers, more than likely I will be too. Unless something happens that teeter totters that, which in my case it did. My father died when I was 4, so that teeter tottered that for me. So when my father passed when I was 4, that broke that programming that I was receiving from my father. Broke it. And so when it broke it, I teeter tottered, and that opened up potentials for me in my destiny. It opened potentials. So it was actually a gift in a way of seeing, because then I wasn't receiving from my father the identity that a father is supposed to give a son. And so that opened up potentials in that I had to go find my own. I had to find my own. And so at an early age for me, there was seeking early, very early, because my daddy wasn't giving it to me. And so I started looking in books. I started looking in religions. I read lots and lots of different religions. I was very interested in different religions. And I was looking, I was seeking avidly from a very young age. The library was my home. It was my safe spot where I like to be. I read lots and lots of books, lots of fantasy. When I was a child, I read the Bible backwards and forwards, all the stories. And I read other books. I read books on hell. I read books on Islam. I read books on different religions within Christianity. I read books on magic. I was very curious as a child, very curious. And so that seeking stayed with me as an adult because I was missing that strong identity that would have come from my father. It didn't come through for me. So I had to find it on my own. And then my sexuality leaned towards homosexual. I was more attracted to men sexually. Um, and so that was another identity crisis where society was telling me that this is what your identity is. You're homosexual, number one, because I didn't have a name for it. I remember going to a camp when I was in middle school, late middle school, no, high school, early high school. Um, and so I go to the camp, and there's a chaplain at the camp. And here I am, an adolescent, newly discovering sexuality. I really didn't know anything about it. I was very innocent as a child this way. And then they told me that I was gay. They felt that they were doing me a service by letting me know that I had a choice. Oh, well, you can be gay. That's what you are. So they gave me that. That was something that society programmed for me. But in receiving that, it then created another identity crisis because then I wasn't okay. Then society tells me another thing that says, "Oh well, yes, you're homosexual, but homosexuals, they're not good. There's something wrong with them. We don't accept them." Yeah, so that was another identity crisis. Mind you, this was the '90s, so it wasn't as open to these things then. Um, and so to try to find that strong father figure identity that I needed, I joined the military. I went into the army, and I was active duty for a while. And it's funny because I was active duty during 9/11, and I saw a lot of things that began to open my eyes to the non-reality of reality. I began to see that the stuff that I was taught to believe is true wasn't actually true. I went to West Point Prep School. There was a program through the active duty army to go to West Point, which is the United States Military Academy. And so I competed and I got accepted. I was a very good student and a very good soldier at the time. And I got accepted, so I went to the preparatory school, which is the a year program where you train to take active duty soldiers or recruited athletes and train them in whatever educational deficiencies they might have, where they could actually be at the level of cadets at the military academy. And so I did that for a year. I finished the program. I was number two in the program. Um, but what I began to see was that the honor code, which was duty honor country, was bullshit. The truth of it was that everyone just paid lip service to it, but that wasn't actually what was happening. And I began to see that there was an honor code, and that you were told that you always had to speak the truth, but that's not what was happening. That there were special people, and special people could do special things. For instance, recruited athletes could get away with things that other people couldn't. People that were special and that they came from special families could get away with things that other people couldn't, so the honor code didn't apply to them. And so these sorts of incongruities began to show up for me. And I began to see, oh my God. So we're paying lip service to these ideas and to these concepts, and yet what is actually happening is something totally and completely different. And so the more I saw this, the more I recognized that, the more I saw that it was something that had infected, um, like a virus, like a disease of consciousness, not just West Point and all of the cadets that were in West Point and all of the leadership within West Point, which then becomes the leadership of the army. And that leadership becomes the leadership of the Pentagon. And then those people are making decisions for the entire world. So this had infected not only all of these people, but it was inherent in the entire system, in the consciousness of everyone. Nobody was showing up. Everyone was lying all the time. And so when I saw this quite clearly, I quit. I quit. I couldn't do it anymore. I said, I am taking the fastest road out of the military for me that wouldn't have negative consequences at the time. And so for me at that time, it was going back into active duty military and serving out the rest of my term. And I did it in such a way that I wouldn't get deployed, because at this point in time, because I saw all of this, I recognized that all war was also bullshit. I recognized that it was total lip service to corporate motives and to bottom lines. It was pure profit seeking, which in reality is theft. And so at this time, I couldn't speak these ideas. Consciousness was not open to them. If I had spoken them openly at that point in time, then I would have been attacked. And still to this day, a large percentage of consciousness on the planet is not open to them, is not willing to see them, is not willing to recognize that this is really what's going on. That as a planetary collective, as a society, we have been being run by shadow ideas, by ideas that are pushed out of awareness, that are ignored, that we don't actually meet and confront openly. And so I left the military a few years later. I had to go back into active duty to serve out the rest of my contract. And I did that. And interestingly, during that time, 9/11 did happen, and I saw 9/11. And when I saw everything that was happening behind the scenes in the military, it was very apparent that 9/11 was an inside job to me. It was something that we did to ourselves. And I couldn't speak about that either because of resistance to that. But it's just glaring in your face when you just start to really sit with it. It's like, oh, wow, yeah, no, these ideas don't add up. There's a lot that is here that needs to be really, really sat with in a way that isn't energizing ideas of who we think we are, as opposed to what is really here. So what this is a collective projection. It is a collective projection of an American ego. We are America. We are good for everyone. We are good for the world. We are doing the right thing all the time. That is an American ego. It is a distorted form of the masculine. And it goes out and it does immense damage throughout all of the planet because no one is willing to stand up to it. No one is willing to call it out. The feminine has been very, very, very comfortable with just letting the masculine ego run the show while it sits back and it's confused about why do they not like me? Why is it that they can't see me? Why is it that they can't meet my emotions? Why do I always get pulled into this game? Ah. Yes, Maya. um, so let's feel into that together because I really want to get a beat in on this for everyone because it is, yesterday's video, if you watched it, what really showed up in that video was the concessions that the feminine has been making for the masculine and the ideas that the feminine has about the masculine that need to be dropped, that need to dissolve. Women, you are more embodied than men, unless you're gay, like me. That's a joke. Women, male bodies are not as embodied as you. It's just, you can feel that. So step up. Please step up. You can feel that. And really, what matters is that you stop looking at them as if there's something wrong with them. Stop looking at them as if there's something wrong with them. Stop looking at them as if there's something different. Stop projecting a wounded masculine, period. Stop picking up that idea. Stop making room for it. Because every time you pick up that idea, it is so heavy, it pulls you into a dynamic that is not fun. It is not playful. Because in that dynamic, you get pulled into the identity of being a sexual object. You get pulled into the identity of needing a man to love you, needing a man to fulfill you. And then from there, you just start running shadow distortions. You just start not showing up in many different ways. And so you'll see that the masculine, the man is manipulating and is not showing up and is not truthful. But then where are you not showing up in not calling it out? So you have the ability to recognize this and see this for the male body being that is running this program. But on the flip side of it, the fact that you're not speaking out about it, the fact that you're not calling it out enables it. It lets that continue to run the planet. And it's time to stop. It is time to dissolve that completely. Full stop. So, women, I'm calling you out today to get you on board so that you stop projecting on men the illusion that they have it all together because they don't. And stop projecting on them the need for your own fulfillment because you already have that within you. You don't need them. Period. What they need and what the whole planet needs is that you show up in full form. That means if something doesn't feel good, that you speak to it. Speak to it. Hey, you called me, you asked me to come on this project, and what I'm actually feeling is that your intentions are that you want to get me in bed. And that doesn't feel good to me. So if you want to work with me, then you're going to have to feel through that and show up cleanly because I'm showing up here for you. And it's not my job to feel that for you. You need to feel it for yourself. You need to grow up. You need to evolve. So, women, if this is showing up for you and you're not speaking to it, then where is your part in this? How are you enabling it to continue? You see? Feeling it is one thing, it is one part of it. Oh, I feel it. I recognize it. It's there. The other part of it is to speak to it, even when confronted with a strong masculine ego and a lot of ideas, to still hold that space with integrity, to not shrink in front of it. And so this is crucial for embodiment on this planet at this time. There's no getting out of this wounded masculine loop that we see playing out, where we're now swinging back to a Biden presidency in the United States, which is just another shadow puppet installation. I mean, what is that? Honestly, that is the entire collective saying, "Oh, I don't want to feel this. This doesn't feel good to me. So I'm going to pretend I'm going to pretend that everything is okay. I'm going to go back into my little pretend world and pretend that everything is okay and let this very destructive game continue to play out, ravaging the planet, where you're just giving props to the masculine ideas. Oh yes, that's wonderful. Oh yay, we are that. Uh-huh. That's wonderful. Yeah, we're doing such wonderful good things. That's who we are. Meanwhile, what you're feeling on the inside says a whole different story. There's a whole different thing going on there. Nobody likes a Trump presidency because then it's front and center. Then you're actually seeing what's there. You're seeing the insanity. It's visible, it's in your face. And so then you begin to feel it. Nobody wants that. It's really awful. It feels bad. I know. It feels horrible. But better to see it and feel it than to hide it away, than to make believe, than to pretend everything is wonderful when it really isn't. I watched a movie when I was younger that really struck me. It really hit me when I was young. It was a movie that had to do with the history of one of the emperors in China. And there was a metaphor in the movie where there was a flower, and the center of the flower was black, but around all the whole flower was beautiful. But in the center, it was rotten. In the core, it was rotten. And so when I watched this movie when I was younger, I began to feel that rottenness in our society. I felt it within me, within our collective as a whole. It's really painful to feel, especially as a very sensitive child. Which is why it's so difficult for us to come into presence one with another. It's so difficult for us to come into this moment. We have a lot of words for it: present time, coming into the moment, be here now. And anyone who's taken LSD or done mushrooms or any sort of hallucinogen has experience of it. Anyone who's been really serious about meditation has learned how to come into it to a limited degree. But very few live in it, because to live in it means that you're feeling it always. There's no more filter. It's like all the ideas that the collective is running that say that you're not enough, that say that that you're lacking something, that say that you need something external to you to fulfill you. All those ideas are very painful. And when we come into the present moment, that's what's there, because those are the ideas that are running us. Those are the ideas that create these types of incongruities, where our intention does not align with our words, and our words don't align with our intention, which is deception. That is what magic is. One of the beautiful things about social media at this point in time is that at least there's an outlet now for if really the intention is that you want to have some sort of a fetish, that's what's coming up for you, that's the idea that's there, that you're feeling, that perhaps there's a way that you can express that within a group of people through some sort of internet chat room or through an application so that we can start to meet these perspectives because they're there. Denying them, suppressing them, pretending that they're not there, painting on a pretty face when that's not really what's being felt. That's how we get into this mess. Look around you. Be really honest. Is this really your dream? Or is this just ideas that are here around you? They have nothing to do with your true essence. They have nothing to do with who you are. They have nothing to do with what it is that you feel when you are alone with yourself. Be really honest about this. I'm walking around here in Utah, which is now my new home, and what I'm seeing is that there is relics all over the place. It's basically like looking at a ghost. I'm looking at ghosts everywhere because the reality that is constructed here, everything that everyone is putting around them, all of their decorations, all of their stuff, is memories. It's all memories. And memories are not now. They are not true. So it's like being in a an environment where everyone is surrounded by ghosts constantly, and it's very dense, very very dense, because there's a lot of memory, a lot of ghosts, and those memories have not been integrated. They haven't been felt through. They haven't been processed for the collective as a whole, and so it's very weighty. So look around you, take a good look, and really be honest with yourself, and ask yourself: is this my dream? Is this really what is in alignment with my soul, with who I am, or are these memories that aren't even mine? And if you begin to see that they truly are not yours, that it's just memories, and that is something that you're able to touch, then you can start to come into your own power, and you can start to de-energize that in presence through recognizing that none of that is actually real. It's all thought forms, and you can feel through all of them simply by moving into the curiosity, the unknowingness of being here in this moment. I love you so much. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Have a beautiful day.